Hello there. If you made it here, you've made it to day zero. I'm gonna pretty much just be walking you through who I am and the road in which I've walked so far. A little bit about myself. I was a former firefighter-paramedic out in Miami for about 5 years. No coding background, and then I just jumped into entrepreneurship. Right, I left the fire department, jumped into getting access to capital for businesses. I did some credit repair. I was doing everything you name it. Right, when it comes to the entrepreneurial world, I'm sure if you've walked in those shoes before, you understand the roller coaster that comes with. And down this AI world started with ChatGPT, just like everybody else. Right, made my account on there. Sooner or later, I started getting the $20 a month, where I'm like, man, I'm using this so much. I'm making these little projects on the side. I'm researching my health. I'm researching different businesses that I want to start. I'm doing projects, little things here and there, and then I'm thinking that I've become this master AI guy just because I'm doing these deep researches, and I'm basically using it like a Google on steroids. Right, that's pretty much I think where the entry level is, which is where it was mine, right? Then I went ahead and found Claude. I started working with an AI company that I was helping go to market. You know, funny enough, never being with AI, I got blessed with that chance from a good friend of mine and found Claude. Immediately felt different, right? I started getting different responses, right? It was a different level of responses coming back to me, and I was like, this is a little different there. And then I would jump on it just about the time that co-work had just come out, right? So co-work to me was like I'm testing these waters, right? I'm dipping my feet in, and I'm in this coding world. And I saw that the side had little like project tabs on it, and it would start marking it down. And I'm like, man, I'm really doing stuff here. I'm creating these little tasks for myself. I'm helping out my spreadsheets, and I'm doing these things. And I'm like, man, this is a cool start, right? When it comes to AI. And I've since I left the fire department, and while I was in it, right, I was always intrigued with the business world. I would listen to a lot of Alex Hormozy, you know, most of the greats that you've listened to, Tony Robbins, when it comes to personal development, business, finance, the personal development gurus, the Jim Rohns, the Bob Proctors, the people like that. And when it came to business, I always had a mass interest for it. And I was like, man, with these AI tools that are coming out, I could really help these business owners out, since I was in this roller coaster myself, right? When it came to the marketing, the basically when you're a new entrepreneur, you start wearing all the hats, right? You put on, you're the marketer, you're the sales guy, you are the money, right? You're the one that fronts all the money for it. You do HR, customer service, the fulfillment. You do every aspect of business because you don't have the capital to hire anybody else out, and you're just figuring it out. So I started plugging a lot of those different processes into Claude. Right? I started putting it in co-work. I'm like, man, how do I accomplish this? How can I do this? And then as I found out all these questions that started coming to my mind, I would just ask Claude itself, and I would get some pretty neat answers back, walkthroughs and things like that. And then I was talking to a good friend of mine that is a I would call a master developer, right? Guy that lives and breathes terminals. Used to be out of Silicon Valley. I met him through the crypto world actually, and he told me, man, you're leaving like 70% firepower on the table just working on co-work. Why don't you try Claude Code out? And in my head, I was just like, code. I'm like, I'm not a developer. I don't do software. I don't know anything about terminals or bash and all these words that come out that I see when I touch a terminal. I'm like, I don't know if I want to dip my feet in. Then ultimately ended up doing it. Got on Cloud Code, and I'm like, man, what business do I have touching this Cloud Code? And I started getting in there. I asked Cloud Code all the questions I had about how do I set you up, right? How do I use this the most efficiently? What type of tasks should I even be running through here, right? Is this my everyday task? Should I be doing my regular searches through here? What am I even using this for? And then little by little, I start seeing the possibilities with it when it came to building automations. And little by little, I'm like, I started immersing myself with it. I start going on YouTube. I start watching people like Nate Herc and just a series of other YouTubers. Because now, and I'm sure if you're watching this video or if you're just seeing this all the way through, you've come across now we're in this AI wave where everybody and their mother's talking about AI and how they know the next best tool and how you're missing out. And you wake up the next day and you're like, oh man, I fell asleep for too long. There's like five different tools that I'm not using and I'm falling behind and everybody's ahead of me. So it's like this AI thing is constantly in movement. I just started to ask Claude, I'm like, I need you to teach me. Explain to me what a terminal is. Tell me what a bash is. Break it down step by step. And there's no judgment because it's you with the computer, right? And the realization that I came with is that the tool that build things can also teach you how to use it. And most people never think to ask, right? Like instead of me just shutting it off and being like, this is too complicated. That's not my world. That's not where I came from. That's not what I studied, right? I'm a 27-year-old when I was 21 and immediately got in the fire department. That's all I knew. So then I got into business and then now into this, right? And I started combining all of these things that I gained as experience throughout the years and started putting them together. And this became, instead of like the thing that I was afraid to touch, this became kind of like the access point, right? Like where all the trains came into. Like this is where I connected all that knowledge and experience and started using it to essentially exponentially grow the amount of output I was able to do from a business standpoint and even personally, right? And all the day-to-day things that I was doing. So on to the next step, right, which was VS Code, right? And then I started seeing other people on YouTube that were talking about VS Code this and use an IDE. And I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? I'm like, so Claude Code isn't it. So I'm like, so I need to be on something else. And then I realized little by little, I'm like, I started asking Cloud Code, what is an IDE? What is VS Code? Can you help me set up what workspaces look like? And it helped me set up the full thing, right? So now I work off out of VS Code. I have several different workspaces when it comes to the different projects that I'm on. And little by little, like one of the things I said in the beginning, right? One of the main people that I would listen to for business was Hormozy, still is. He puts out a lot of content and he goes very deep on AI as well, especially right now, just like everybody does. Gary Vayner, Hormozy, everybody and their mother right now is talking about AI. But did not make it too long, I started creating skills, right? I had no idea what skills were in these things, right? Because in my head, I'm like, man, I got to keep telling Claude. I was used to ChatGPT, right? Where ChatGPT remembered its memory for the most part through all your sessions, through all your chats. And now I'm on this code and I'm like, man, every time I start a new session, it doesn't remember anything. I'm like, so I got to keep explaining to it what I like, what I don't like, what I want it to do. And then we came across what an MD file is, what a markdown file is, essentially your base that loads up per session that Claude reads and is like, oh, I know who Christian is. I know what he likes. I know how old he is. I know what he's working on. And then I came across skills to finally get into that. And I started building what I call Hormozy skills, right? Because I admire the way that he goes about business, right? Marketing, everything that he goes about. I'm a very big believer in what he teaches. So I go, all right, I need you to analyze the leads book, his offers book, the playbooks, the things that he has out on social media that he puts out to the public. I would transcribe those, put those in, and create skills out of them, like things like paid ads, SEO, things that I'm going to be using for business. And I would create skills out of them so that when I would use it inside of Claude Code, it can go into the skills section and be like, oh, he's talking about paid ads. Let me go into the paid ad skill. And then it would go pull like, hey, you should be using this for hooks. You should be using this for descriptions, for long form, short form, all of the above. So as I started creating skills, I realized I don't have to explain myself for 15 minutes before doing my task. All I have to do is tell it to invoke the Hormozy skill, the paid ad skill, the SEO skill, whatever skill it is, and it remembers everything from that file as the skill that you built. and tells you, this is what I have, and let's do it. That's pretty much it. So I'm like, man, that's saves me a headache and a half. And then I got to the point where I started adding everything that I was doing in every session to my Claude MD file. Because I'm like, man, I can't forget this. I cannot forget this. So I had a Claude MD file, like my main file, that had 700, 800 lines in it. So later on found out, as you start doing more research and start listening to more people, more obviously advanced than I am, that you shouldn't be loading up that MD file with so much information. Why? Because one, it takes too long to read through. Every time it answers your question, it goes through it to see if there's anything in there that you want it to answer in a specific way, if it needs to pull anything from a specific reference or a skill. So your answers now start taking longer because it has to read through that 800 line file every single time it needs to answer you. So I'm like, man, what is the solution now? You realize that you have to start making separate MD files for separate workspaces and separate projects that you're doing that remember certain things. And little by little, my Tetris or my foundation per se, right? Let's call it a foundation, starts getting built little by little on how to use these products, how to use these different tools, and how they all coincide together, right? And just as anybody in the AI field or anybody getting their feet wet knows, I found another tool. What are the odds of that? And that is Obsidian, right? I came across, I forgot whose video it is now. I believe is Jens Heitman, something like that. Might be his. I hope I'm not butchering his name, but he goes over Obsidian. He's like, man, this is like something where it's like a vault. Think of it as your vault where everything goes into, and it's like one big spider web, right? And that spider web connects to all the files you had, and it's like references. So when it pulls from that vault, it has access to all these skills MD files that you made. So based off of like keywords, it can go in there and see and pull from specific files that you're looking for and invoke a certain skill without you per se having to call it out specifically. It'll go in and be able to pull that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I went in and I spent a couple hours in there figuring that thing out. And obviously when I say figuring out, I'm just running it through Claude Code and I'm like, what do we do here, buddy? Talk to me. Being as genuine as possible, just humbling myself down and being like, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm just let it walk me through. And little by little created this huge spider web with hundreds of different skills and files, and Claude Code helped me rearrange those in certain ways. It started breaking up separate MD files into smaller ones so that it knows which to access for which, and it wasn't like overloaded with 3 projects in one file. I start looking at my desktop and I'm like, man, now I've got like 6, 7 different apps in here that I'm using, and little by little that starts to get overwhelming. So it's like that overstimulation, right? It's like you want to learn everything, but then you realize that this thing is like expanding so much on a day-to-day basis, where I realize like the tools I have are most likely enough. Like, let me just focus on mastering per se, right? Learning about these as much as I can, and then little by little I'll start figuring out what I need to add to my tech stack, right, per se. But as of right now, what my tech stack looks like is VS Code with Claude Code obviously integrated inside. Whisperflow, actually, another great thing that I didn't mention, Whisperflow. So I first tried one called Super Whisper, didn't have much of a great time with it. Sometimes I would talk. So for those that don't know, it's basically talk, speech to text. So all this, essentially, like I'm talking with you, I would talk with Claude. And I'm like, man, this is a lot of typing. My fingers hurt like hell. There is no like ChatGPT had the microphone to touch, and I couldn't find one in Claude Code. I'm like, there just is no microphone for me to touch, and I'm not gonna type out. And I tried for a bit, but I'm like, this is just too much. So I started looking into apps. Ultimately, if you're looking for one, Whisperflow. Not sponsored by them, just that is one that I use on a day-to-day basis. And if I pull it up right now, I have 42,500 words spoken into it at the moment. So clearly a lot of typing that I have circumvented with this app. It's for me to have these conversations with Claude, put my thoughts in, get back a response, keep throwing my thoughts in there, and essentially using it and as a partner, right? Just to brainstorm back and forth. And I think that that speech to text is huge. So there's another tool for you. Funny enough, and the goal for me was to make a business out of this, right? Because I really like being behind the screen and getting with business owners and being able to find where their constraint is, where their bottleneck is, and or where multiple of them are, and help them overcome these bottlenecks and constraints with systems that I help put together. I do it as a what I would like to do, right, is a tailored approach where we go in, we analyze the business and see what's currently missing. So at the moment, I have my first client. Funny enough, good friend of mine decided to give me a chance that I'm extremely grateful for, right? To start essentially paid learning, right? Which is on the spot learning, but I'm doing it to help him with his business. It's a real estate business. So I'm helping build out currently a two agents, one for inbound and one for outbound. When it comes to people calling into his business, being able to fully answer the calls, right? The AI agent answer the call, take down information, input it in their CRM, book an appointment for one of their closers. So it would essentially be a setter that he gets to save money on paying somebody be physically in the office that is restricted to time. Doesn't take the AI agent doesn't take lunch breaks and it works 24/7. So having that out there, one for inbound for the people calling in, and then having his lead list be able to get called out by the outbound agent that has his SOPs, the what information he needs that's pertinent to input into his CRM, and all of the above. That's currently the project that I'm on. Several little things for myself, like I created a financial dashboard, one that helps me manage things like what I'm investing in the 401k and crypto and where's my allocations going for savings, rainy day funds, things like that. I like having things fully organized in that fashion. And then maybe one day somebody looks at it and goes, hey, I need something like that for myself. And I send it over and then it could help them out with their finances as well. Who knows, right? The possibilities are endless when it comes to this. Right. So I started, today is the 17th of March. So yesterday, right, I sat down with my piece of paper. I started sketching. I like to draw from time to time. And I started CC architecture. All right, my name is Cristian Cruz, architecture, just because I like to get to the foundation and building out, having to do with companies. So I thought it went hand in hand. I thought it was pretty neat. So start building AI systems for service-based businesses. That's the niche that I'm going to be targeting. And then the slogan's going to be from bottleneck to blueprint. Right, pretty neat. And that's pretty much where I'm at. That's literally how it started. I'm just gonna make a business out of it, just because this is what I am extremely interested in. I feel like I can get myself into a position to really start helping business owners. And as I go through this journey, as I go through the process, I'll be teaching and pretty much just guiding you through what I'm going for, what I'm going through currently. And hopefully it'll be a teaching lesson for you if you're currently on the same stage. If you have any questions for me, or if you're getting started as well and you want to jump on a chat, you want to connect, I'm cool for that as well. And then we can go from there, finding like-minded individuals in the space. So thank you for your time. This is day zero, and let's get it going.